begin our first installment of What in the World is Going On in the Vatican with a doozy of a story. And I ask for your patience because as soon as you hear who this involves, you'll probably want to run away yelling that I'm a conspiracy theorist. But please bear with me. A news story that flew under the radar for Catholics in the last week was the story of an official envoy from the Vatican attending the secretive Bilderberg meeting in Turin, Italy. That envoy was none other than Cardinal Parolin, Secretary of State from the Vatican, who was for all intents and purposes the second in command of the Vatican. According to the Vatican, the official reason for his attendance is to preach Catholic social teaching to an audience who might not otherwise hear it. Before we dive into this, let's take a quick look at Bilderberg and what they are. Fair warning, such little is known about this secretive organization that they are central to theories about the New World Order. And once I tell you what they're talking about, you'll understand why that is. So, what is Bilderberg? According to their own website, Bilderberg describes itself in the following way. Since its inaugural meeting in 1954, Bilderberg has been an annual forum for informal discussions designed to foster dialogue between Europe and North America. Every year, between 120 to 150 political leaders and experts from industry, finance, academia, and the media are invited to take part in the meeting. About 2/3 of the participants come from Europe and the rest from North America. 1/3 from politics and government and the rest from other fields. The meeting is a forum for informal discussions about megatrends and major issues facing the world. The meetings are held under the Chatham House rule, which states that participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers nor any other participant may be revealed. Thanks to the private nature of the meeting, the participants are not bound by the conventions of their office or by pre-agreed positions. As such, they can take time to listen, reflect, and gather insights. There is no detailed agenda, no resolutions are proposed, no votes are taken, and no policy statements are issued. The 2018 Bilderberg meeting took place from the 7th to the 10th of June in Turin, Italy. A press release including the list of topics and participants can be found on their website. Note the secrecy of the meetings and how the participants are the elite of the elite. It's interesting that they even have a website now, since prior to 2010 that would have been unthinkable. All participants denied the existence of the group officially until 2010. According to the agenda for their recent meeting, attended by Cardinal Parolin, the topics of it included 1. Populism in Europe. 2. The inequality challenge. 3. The future of work. 4. Artificial intelligence. 5. The U.S. before the midterms. Read Donald Trump. 6. Free trade. 7. U.S. world leadership. 8. Russia. 9. Quantum computing. 10. Saudi Arabia and Iran. 11. The, quote, post-truth, quote, world. And 12. Current events. The past agenda items for the two most recent meetings are also illuminating. The 2017 conference was held from the 1st to the 4th of June 2017 in Chantilly, Virginia in the United States. The topics were the Trump administration, a progress report, the transatlantic relations, options and scenarios, transatlantic defense alliance, bullets, bites, and bucks, the direction of the EU, can globalization be slowed down, jobs, income, and unrealized expectations, the war on information, why is populism growing, Russia and the international order, the Near East, nuclear proliferation, China, current events. The 2016 conference was held from the 9th to the 12th of June in Dresden, Germany. Their topics were current events, China, Europe, migration, growth, reform, vision, unity, Middle East, Russia, U.S. political landscape, economy, growth, debt, reform, cybersecurity, geopolitics of energy and commodity prices, precariat and middle class, and technological innovation. According to a story from the BBC, the goals of the Bilderberg Group is greater unity between the United States and Europe with an aim to global peace. First meeting in 1954, the aim was to shore up U.S.-European relations to prevent another world war. Now, under the group's leadership of former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and one-time EU Vice President Viscount d'Avignon, the aim is purportedly to allow Western elites to share ideas. The article goes on to link them to wild conspiracy theories, some of which will be explored momentarily. However, Professor Kakabatsi, in his interview with the BBC, states why the conspiracy theories actually make sense. Quote, The group has genuine power that far outranks the World Economic Forum, which meets in Davos, he argues, and with no transparency, it's easy to see why people are worried about its influence. It's much smarter than conspiracies, says Professor Kakadbatse. This is molding the way people think so that it seems like there's no alternative to what is happening. The agenda the group has is to bring together the political elites on both right and left, let them mix in relaxed, luxurious surroundings with business leaders, and let the ideas fizz. It may seem like a glorified dinner party, but that is to miss the point. When you've been to enough dinner parties, you see a theme emerging, he says. The theme at Bilderberg is to bolster consensus around free market Western capitalism and its interests around the globe, he says. Is this all leading to the start of the ruling the world idea in one sense? Yes, that's a very strong move to have a one world government in the mold of free market capitalism. The secrecy of the group is something to focus on. Prior to the Second Vatican Council, the Church spilled more ink condemning secret societies than it did any other group, especially the Freemasons. I don't know if the Bilderberg meetings are Masonic or not, though the secrecy of the group has led to many people researching and presenting what they say is evidence of the nefarious nature of the group. Given that Bilderberg didn't even acknowledge its activities until 2010, this group would fit the profile perfectly of the kind of groups that the Church traditionally condemned. Catholics were not to have any contact with secret societies. Briefly, it's worth noting the timing of the meeting. According to the Daily Mail, the meeting was held at the same time as the G7 meeting. The conference operates under Chatham House rules, which means participants can use and report information exchanged there, but not disclose the source. But with no record of what's going on, Bilderberg was held on exactly the same weekends as the G7 and NATO defense meetings, allowing opportunities for conference calls. Critics have said it should be much more transparent. Many argue that the event exists solely to serve as a networking and lobbying opportunities for its attendances. That's according to the Daily Mail. Now, I'm going to pause here and say that I don't endorse the speculation about Bilderberg done by some of the following groups. But in the interest of seeking the truth, I'll present some of the accusations leveled against them below. Try to remember the topics of the agendas from 2016, from 2017, and the 2018 meetings. First, the Bilderberg group is widely accused of having secret political machinations, as described in the following video.
Number 7. The group is cited as the way presidents and prime ministers are chosen. Bill Clinton first attended the conference in 1991 and became the U.S. president just a year later. Tony Blair was also fairly insignificant in his own political party when he was invited in 1993. By 1997, his election was being celebrated in the UK. Every year, the delegates include a few political figures who may not be well known now, but they're about to become very famous indeed.
Second, the Bilderberg group is accused of out-and-out Satanism. I'm not kidding. They have been accused of having bizarre occultish rituals as required for membership.
Number 3. British journalist John Ronson entered the Bilderberg group and filmed their activity in 2001. As a part of a documentary series, British journalist John Ronson enlisted the help of prolific American radio host Alex Jones to infiltrate the famous global elite at their retreat in Bohemian Grove, California, which has a guest list that overlaps with the Bilderberg group. When he filmed it, he found a bizarre staged occult ceremony involving the wearing of robes and the burning of a giant owl effigy. As sinister as it looked, Ronson went on to describe it as ultimately harmless, just like any extravagant school play.
The accusations against Bilderberg can be neatly summarized in this way. The group represents the moneyed and political powers who control the world through secretive meetings who try to determine the course of political events around the world. The following source is from Infowars. Yes, I know, but please bear with me. It neatly sums up the accusations of the secretive and Masonic nature of this group. The video is a long clip, but covers almost everything the group is accused of.
Look no further than the following quotes from Bilderberg insiders and those who've studied the secretive cabal. Bill Gates.
So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to 0, and that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look.
Dr. Henry Kissinger at the 1992 Bilderberg meeting at Evian, France. Today, America would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. referring to the 1991 LA riots. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there were an outside threat from beyond, i.e. an extraterrestrial invasion, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. David Rockefeller wrote in his book Memoirs, "If the Council on Foreign Relations raises the hackles of the conspiracy theorists, the Bilderberg meetings must induce apocalyptic visions of omnipotent international bankers plotting with unscrupulous government officials to impose cunning schemes on an ignorant and unsuspecting world." At the 1991 Bilderberg meeting at Baden, Germany, a meeting also attended by Bill Clinton, David Rockefeller said, "We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries." And David Rockefeller from his book Memoirs again, "Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it."
Already we've seen leading members of Congress used to always attend. The Speaker of the House, representatives, ranking senators would attend. Now they don't dare because they get mail from their own constituents. Their own voters in their own congressional district are in their home state for the senators, saying if you do business with these criminals anymore, we'll never vote for you again. We'll vote for anybody else. And they've been politically frightened out of the ballgame.
19th century politician and historian Lord Acton said, "The issue which has swept down the centuries and which will have to be fought sooner or later is the people versus the banks." The ruthless and cunning behavior of the attendees of the Bilderberg conference can be summed up in the Machiavelli quote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." We can see the ripples of secrecy in the Bilderberg group and that of President Obama's TPP, and Adam Weishaupt, founder of the Illuminati's quote, "The great strength of our order lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but always concealed by another name and another occupation." Baron Nathan Mayer Rothschild said, "I care not what puppet is placed on the throne of England to rule the empire. The man that controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the money supply." And if those quotes aren't creepy enough for you, David Spangler of the United Nations Directory of the Planetary Initiative said, "No one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation." And it's not as if we have not been warned time and time again. Congressman Louis T. McFadden in 1932 said, "We have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board. This evil institution has impoverished the people of the United States and has practically bankrupted our government. It has done this through the corrupt practices of the moneyed vultures who control it." Woodrow Wilson, who signed the Federal Reserve into existence, said, "I am a most unhappy man. I've unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men."
Much of these claims are not helped by the secretive nature of the organization. It is worth looking now at the prohibitions the Church has put in place barring Catholics from participating in these groups. According to the traditional definitions that the Church uses for secret societies, Quoting the Catholic Cyclopedia as found on newadvent.org, by a secret society was formerly meant a society which was known to exist, but whose members and places of meetings were not publicly known. Today we understand by a secret society a society with secrets, having a ritual demanding an oath of allegiance and secrecy, prescribing ceremonies of a religious character, such as the use of the Bible, either by extracts therefrom, or by being its placed on an altar with a lodge room, by the use of prayers, of hymns, of religious signs and symbols, special funeral services, etc. Rake gives a more elaborate description. Secret societies are those organizations which completely conceal their rules, corporate activity, the names of their members, their signs, passwords, and usages from outsiders or the profane. As a rule, the members of these societies are bound to the strictest secrets concerning all the business of the association by oath or promise or word of honor, and often under the threat of severe punishment in case of its violation. If such secret society has higher and lower degrees, the members of the higher degree must be equally careful to conceal their secrets from their brethren of a lower degree. In certain secret societies, the members are not allowed to know even the names of their highest officers. Secret societies are founded to promote certain ideal aims, to be obtained not by violent but by moral measures. By this, they are distinguished from conspiracies and secret plots which are formed to attain a particular object through violent means. Secret societies may be religious, scientific, political, or social. Narrowing the definition still more to the technical meaning of secret societies, in ecclesial documents, Archbishop Katzer, in a pastoral letter, says the Catholic Church has declared that she considers those societies illicit and forbidden, which 1. Unite their members for the purpose of conspiring against the state or church, 2. Demand the observance of secrecy to such an extent that it must be maintained even for the rightful ecclesiastical authority, 3. Exact an oath from their members or a promise of blind and absolute obedience, and 4. Make use of ritual and ceremonies that constitute them sects. So why did the Vatican send an envoy to the Bilderberg meeting? There are 2 things to consider here. First, the so-called migrant crisis of Europe and populism were on the agenda, and Pope Francis has spoken out in strange support of Islamic migration into Europe. The second thing to remember is that Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si', which was celebrated by the secular world, had sections that are alleged to have been ghost-written by secular environmentalists, and the document itself explicitly calls for greater globalization in order to fight so-called global warming. I know because I read the document multiple times myself. Cardinal Parolin has said that his purpose for going to the meeting was to preach the gospel and remind the attendants to remember the poor. And I'm sure in his mind and the mind of the Vatican this is precisely what he was doing. But this recent behavior defending Islamic colonizers and promotion of global governance to fight so-called global warming certainly framed the point of the visit. The current Vatican and papacy are some of the most political in the last several hundred years. The secular world almost celebrates Pope Francis and treats him like a celebrity. The Holy Father's promotion of social justice issues fits perfectly with alleged agenda of the globalists. On the other hand, Cardinal Parolin may have simply gone to promote traditional Catholic social teaching. Color me skeptical. But please pray for the Church. If you like content that actually respects the traditional teachings of the Catholic Church, or are curious about traditional Catholicism and don't want to be bombarded by leftist modernist nonsense, please like this video and subscribe. You can follow me on various social media with links in the description. Dominus Vobiscum.